Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Reckless speculation. Reckless speculation.
Yes, Reckless Draft Speculation Tuesday here on Purple Daily. Daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. And every Tuesday in this lead up to the draft, we have brought in our friend from Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros, and now the all-new Purple Daily on Draft as of yesterday.
Awesome.
Thor Nystrom. You can also find Tyler Fornes from VikingsWire.com. We launched a new Purple Daily spin-off show you can find every week, not only yesterday leading up to the draft, but it's gonna take sort of a draft/young player perspective on Vikings football. So, Thor, we have a million things we want to get into with you, including our final mock draft simulation, but it is just chaos everywhere with all these reports. I think, like, where I'd love to start with you, and Judd's back here on Purple Daily after a long weekend celebrating his anniversary, so we'll get Judd to unleash some takes here. Almost every single prominent mock draft coming out the last week has the Vikings drafting a quarterback. 3 months ago, nobody had the Vikings drafting a quarterback. So, and by the way, many of these have the Vikings aggressively trading up as high as maybe number 2 to get that quarterback. So, what do you make of all of this Vikings quarterback buzz here in the mock draft community, Thor?
Well, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? I mean, all spring, the Vikings have done as deep a work on the quarterback class as we have seen in years and years and years. We know that they were talking to teams at the Combine about Cousins. You know, there was the report about the 49ers. Who knows who else they talked to about that? It's just dot connecting. There's been the reports here the last few days as well that the Vikings have engaged with Houston and Arizona about the 2 and 3 pick. Presumably, they have engaged other teams clandestinely about trade parameters. If certain scenarios, certain quarterbacks that they like fall down to certain spots, yeah, this is setting up to be a wild draft.
So I think that this is great because I think that there's a lot of smoke, but some is real smoke and some is getting you off the scent smoke when it comes to the Vikings' intentions. So, number one, I firmly believe that the reports that they are engaged in potential talks with the second and third teams are accurate. Like, I think they are very aggressively looking to move up. Do I think that they'd make a really stupid trade? No. But do I think that if the price point is right and it would be incredibly expensive, they would? Yes. I think the Hendon Hooker stuff, I think it's a big smokescreen. I really do. I'm not buying it. It just doesn't seem to me like if you're trying to go up to, let's say, 2 or 3, are you really going to then settle for Hooker at like 23? I don't think so. So I believe that the Vikings are aggressively trying to trade up. This just came to me too. And I told Phil this on M&J, Thor. But we were talking about the steam with the score on Stroud's test, right? And how it was an 18, and that's brutal.
Oh no!
The
we
phone's
got breaking
ringing.
news. We got
It's a trade coming in. It's crazy. What should I do, man?
Oh no! Is that a scout texting you? It's a scout texting Thor. Oh no!
Don't give it away. So on Stroud though, now all the teams obviously have those scores. So like it's not like teams don't know. But you know that leak went through Bob McGinn, who was a longtime Packer beat guy, who does his own site now, who is, I would say, extremely respected, but he only sort of just pops up now. Like he's not, I wonder if somebody knew Bob, and this is just a theory, reckless speculation at its highest form, just to be very clear, you guys. I wonder if somebody who knew Bob at TCO Performance Center was the source of that leak.
Oh yeah,
Was
CJ.
the source of the
I heard
start-
CJ scored really low, man. Just
I'm
box
looking.
of
Hey,
rocks, man.
Hey Bob, I'm looking at the scores right now. Do you want one? Oh yeah, absolutely. CJ Stroud at an 18. My God, I mean, I'm just saying
He took it 4 times too. That was his best score. It was crazy.
Anything, as Thor knows, you guys, anything goes right now. Like there's no honor, there's no, No one is civil. People are doing like this is the ultimate reality show with just brutal results. I'm just throwing it out there.
Kevin
Kevin
Costner is just pacing back and forth in a park somewhere.
Except he's not going to
Sonny
draft
Weaver
a
Jr.
linebacker and running back. Yeah, that's still the worst draft of all time. That idiot.
I want my picks back.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm just speculating. Because I do buy that the Vikings might be very interested in Stroud. I think that might be accurate.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly plausible. The things that you see in the media, and some people might know this out there, but some people might not. It's stuff that the source wanted to get out there, right? And so you're not going to tell someone in the media something that you don't want to get out there. That just doesn't happen. And yeah, that's why you get, whether they're exaggerations of the truth. Sometimes you'll just get outright lies from some of those folks, and then you have to be very careful about what you print. It's interesting. McGinn puts that out. And the guy who runs the S2 test has now been doing a media tour, going out and saying not all the numbers that were put out were accurate. And even the ones that were, there wasn't the correct context behind them. And so he's been doing his own PR sort of campaign. But yeah, I mean, like with this stuff, for me, you have to go back and you have to watch the players. And do they struggle with that specific thing? Do they struggle with processing information, for instance? I just don't think that CJ Stroud does. I think there's some things that you can look into there. I mean, it's fair that his offense was wide open, and a lot of times there was guys one-on-one, right, in space. And in the NFL, it's going to be more condensed with the better athletes, whatnot. But like what you're sort of behooved by there is you've seen CJ Stroud over the past couple of years go through the progressions when required, enough so that was originally the biggest nitpick on his profile, was that he wouldn't leave the pocket, and he diligently would go through, maniacally would go through, dogmatically go through his progressions, right? Like, so that was, that was the criticism on him or whatever. And now all of a sudden it turns around. It's like, oh, CJ Stroud can't process information. It's like, you can't have that both ways on his eval or whatever. So, as far as he goes, it's funny. We talk about this. One of the other scores that McGinn dropped, the only other one that he did that was beneath the 50th percentile, it was Hendon Hooker. Yeah. But you don't hear anyone talking about that. For me, that one would be the bigger concern when you've never seen that kid go from one side of the field to the other side of the field in college.
Sounds like you're starting to lean away from Hendon Hooker to the Vikings. I'm just reading the tea leaves here. Yeah, well, I mean, who knows? Like, when he says the founder of the cognitive test that there's context missing, I want to know, like, what do you mean there's context missing? Did CJ Stroud have a digestive issue a quarter of the way through the test, and that's why he scored an 18 instead of an 85?
Well, it's funny. Just speaking to that, one of them he did, I forget which show this was on, but I think this was yesterday, the day before. He started to go into, because someone asked him that follow-up question, and he was like, well, I'll give you guys one example. There was a kid who was going to one of the All-Star games this process, and it wasn't until like 10 or 11 p.m. when we could administer him the test, and he was hungry, and he didn't really want to do it, but we had been asked to administer it to him. And he tests and he did a poor score, and then he goes to the All-Star game. But then later on, we allowed him to retake it and he scored higher. He had to be referring to Hendon Hooker there, who showed up to the Senior Bowl with the injury. I would assume that, that's one bit of it. And another bit of the missing context, I'm not sure if he spoke to this or if one of the NFL guys did, but they were talking about how that S2 test, it has 4 different metrics. One of it is like the quickly processing the information. There's 3 other.
There's like improvisation. There's something like adaptability or something. But yes, by the way, Joe Burrow scored like 97 in all the categories.
Yeah. So but like this guy, he was making the point of like some of the kids, the aggregate score might be a little bit lower, but they're high in some of the areas that you like. And the last bit of context is, I believe it's 16 NFL teams that have contracts with that S2 place or whatever. And those teams presumably value it quite highly, when they're evaluating the quarterbacks. But half of the league then, by definition, does not. They asked the Raiders offensive coach, I think it was last week, about what his thoughts were on the league CJ Stroud score. And he just outright said, like, we don't use S2 when we're evaluating quarterbacks. Like, it's not a part of our thing. So, like, I guess it's notable for you guys, but we don't factor it in whatsoever. We have our own cognitive tests, our own psychological tests. So for the half of the league that subscribes to the S2 thing, yeah, it probably has a specific weight there. The other ones maybe not so much.
Yeah, because if there's one franchise I trust to go outside and deviate from the norm in their draft strategy, it's the Raiders historically. But by the way, I should shout out our friends at TCL, an official partner of the NFL, and back in for another year at Purple Daily here. We appreciate TCL. No matter what you watch, TCL has award-winning TVs for any budget, any space, all with stunning picture quality. TCL makes more than just TVs. They offer mobile products, audio devices, home appliances. TCL brings you joy and simplicity through innovative technology. Learn more at TCL.com. And also, this Thursday night, we're just a couple days away from the Surly Park Tavern Draft Party Extravaganza. We, Purple Daily, will be streaming live on YouTube from the 11th frame. It's in the back area. It's a great indoor space with a spillover area, tent, heated area. If it does rain like it did last year, you won't get rained on this year. We are so excited for this. And the doors are going to open in the 11th frame area at 6 o'clock. You can get there before then because Park Tavern and the main bar area is open for lunch at 11 a.m. But 6 o'clock start time at Park Tavern in St. Louis Park. 7 o'clock, we go live on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. Thor is going to put in the first half of the draft with his Fantasy Pros stream. And then you're going to come on out and join us for the second part of the first round. Who knows what the hell? Like the Vikings may have like traded up by then, but you'll join us for the second part. Tyler Forness is going to join us for parts on both Thursday and Friday. So boys, we're looking forward to meeting as many Purple Daily listeners and viewers as possible this Thursday.
I can't wait. And anyone out there, come to the thing. Like last year, it was so fun. This year we're indoors, so we're not going to be quite as chilly, but it's really fun. Bring a friend. And even if you don't, you're going to make some there. I promise you.
Yeah. If you don't have any friends, you can make friends. It's going to be great on Thursday night.
And to Thor's point, boy, have we gone soft. Like last year, we're outside. We're like the Met Stadium Vikings. We're bringing on the weather.
I couldn't feel any of my limbs at the end.
And now we're just going to move into the Metrodome.
Started on fire.
We're like, where's the heat? Turn the heat up.
There were so many comments last year about like, oh, Judd looks cold, or you guys look so cold. It's like, yeah, we're it's fun. Like we're doing it, but yeah, like just to skirt that, put everybody else in. But we would have gone out in the elements again.
Yeah.
Oh,
hey,
damn right.
Just back to the draft speculation here. So, because Judd kind of brought this up on our other daily show, Minnesota Sports with Mackie and Judd today, that if you're the Vikings, you probably have a bunch of different scenarios you're preparing for here. It's even more chaotic because ordinarily you going into most drafts, you kind of know who the top 4 or 5 picks are probably going to be, and then you can plan it out from there. We don't even know who the number 2 pick is, and now there's rumors that Will Levis is telling people he's the number 1 pick on Reddit. There's all kinds of stuff. So if you're Kwesi and you're in the Vikings front office, what should your strategy be here? Are you actively looking to get one of the top 3 picks before the draft? Are you waiting to see if like an Anthony Richardson maybe falls past the 5th pick or someone that you like, and then you pounce during the draft? Are you planning on just sort of sitting back at 23? I guess, how do you map this out as you see the draft board falling on Thursday night?
Yeah, it's going to, it's a lot more pre-draft work, I think, because it's, like than a typical cycle where you feel like you're going to stay in your slot or around your slot. You sort of have your couple positions maybe that you're looking at, and you're not really going to deviate outside of that. This one, he's prepared for chaos, and you're going through every single scenario that could come out of that. Because like you said, we don't know who's going to be the second pick. We don't know what team is going to make the second pick. Same thing with the 3rd pick. And presumably within the NFL, they don't either right now, like, because Houston could do anything, Arizona could do anything, whatnot. So if you're the Vikings, you're sitting Kwesi and everybody in the building there for the last week, 10 days, you're sitting in a room and saying, okay, we're pretty sure Bryce Young is the free spot on this bingo card. But after that, let's say that this guy goes 2, this guy goes 3, and this is 4. Then what would the scenario be after that? Have we talked to, Team X about a potential trade parameter if our guy falls into that slot, say it's Detroit, say it's whoever, and then you're mapping out the scenarios for every single one of those. And this year there's just way more of those. It's like a choose your own adventure book. But once you make one decision, then it has to be these 2 decisions, and then it can deviate just wildly from a different scenario. And if you're the Vikings, this is really important because you're sitting at 23. You don't have a round 2 pick. Typically, you're going to get boxed out at trading way up. But there are scenarios, I think, where that is possible. There are some of those teams up there that would be perfectly willing to take the future draft equity. I told you guys a couple weeks ago, I know that the Lions are looking to convert some of their picks into future draft equity. The Arizona guy, Jonathan Gannon, right?
Yeah,
it was like boo 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 when he met Rondale Moore. Shots. He came out outright and said we would be okay getting future picks as well, trading down and taking future equity too. So it just depends on that scenario. But yeah, if you're the Vikings, you are mapping out every single one. So once once the bullets start flying on Thursday night, nothing surprises you, and you have vetted out all those different scenarios. So you could just make the phone call. You already have sort of a roadmap of what it would cost, and that's how these deals get done really quick when you're on the clock.
So the potential for chaos is so high here. And because we think that we know who Carolina is going to take, but we don't know absolutely for sure, Thor, do you think that if, and it's probably a long shot, but let's say the Vikings trade for pick 2 or 3, do you think that's done before the draft, or do you think they wait to see what Carolina does? Because I'm curious if they go to 2 or 3, I guess my question is this. Do they have a quarterback that they've identified, for instance, Stroud, who's their guy there, but they're not as high on the other guys who potentially might be taken there? So like that's the other potential for chaos is if Carolina surprises them and takes Stroud, do the Vikings then bail out of those talks? But if they don't, they feel that they have to go to 2. Like there's so many things here just from a timing standpoint. Forget players, just from a timing of pick standpoint, that could cause the Vikings to deviate from a plan in an instant.
1,000%. Yeah. And another thing that's unique about this draft, guys, is, you have those top 4 quarterbacks, but if you looked at the boards around the league of all 32 teams ranking those 4 guys, you're going to get a different iteration of the top 4 almost every single time. That's what makes it really interesting. That there are teams that are higher on Stroud. There are teams that are lower on Stroud. There are teams that are sky high on Will Levis. There are other teams that don't like Will Levis. And you just go on. There's teams that have size threshold as a quarterback position that wouldn't take Bryce Young, presumably that high. There's other teams, obviously, that think he's the best player in the draft. So, yeah, I mean, that's the second part of it, Judd, for sure. And depending on where the Vikings have that, you're just going to, it's like going to the used car lot or whatever. You have your price point for all the different cars. And if one of those cars, the salesman is giving it to you within your price point, yeah, you're going to make that happen.
Man, this is so fascinating. So you could, if you wanted to, like to Judd's point, unless there's only one quarterback that would get you to trade up, you could trade up to the number 2 pick right now, 48 hours before the draft, right? And here we go. Or if you're 100% sure that Carolina is drafting Bryce Young, and then you know how the board's going to fall to number 2. But we've gone so far in the direction of Vikings drafting a quarterback in the first round here that I think we have to account for the idea that the Vikings can't move up because they get outbid, or they don't want to give up a 2024 and 2025 first round pick and put all those chips. Because this is the other thing, Thor. If let's say you love, I'll just say CJ Stroud. You're the Vikings. You love CJ Stroud, but you really like Hendon Hooker. I know that you would advise against that, but let's say that that's where they're at. How risky is it to say, okay, the difference between how we evaluate these 2 quarterbacks is giving up a 2024 and 2025 first round pick, that there's that much of a gap? I just don't know. I mean, the bust rate on first round quarterbacks is like, 30% historically the last 20 years. I don't know how you can be that sure that you would move up from 23 to number 2.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, as far as that goes, it's you try to quantify the value of those players, which is hard, but like put it down to like a numerical number. You already have what that is for the future draft picks, right? Like we can go on the trade charts, different stuff like that. And then I think that's how you figure out, what would we give up in excess to get, go from Hooker to Stroud, in that, for instance, whatever. I think that's how the equation goes, Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Judd.
Oh, I was just going to say, Phil, I totally get your point, but my guess is that these guys' conversations rotate around, if we do get this right, the problem is solved. And like they don't, the good thing with Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell is they don't own the past. So like the Vikings QB failures aren't on them. So they're not going to think like, well, this franchise has been screwed. It's jinxed on quarterbacks. They're going to think fresh start, our first opportunity to put our stamp on a quarterback here. And I wonder if they perceive it just because of how their brains process things differently than we do, based on the fact that if you do get the right guy, the price point might be absolutely huge, but the problem is solved and you got 5 years of control of said player.
Yep, and there's evidence. Look at the Niners with Trey Lance. Hell, look at the Vikings with some of the quarterbacks they've whiffed on. There's evidence that if you have a well-run franchise and you're hitting on other picks and you have guys like Jefferson and you got franchise left and right tackles, you can absorb a whiff on a quarterback in the first round. And that brings us back to the Christian Ponder post-traumatic stress syndrome that we've all been suffering from here for over a decade. That, well, what happens if you draft another Ponder or another T-Jack? Well, I mean, the Niners literally gave up all kinds of capital for Trey Lance, and now they're going to probably turn around and trade him for 30 cents on the dollar. He's not going to be their starting quarterback, it sounds like. And they're one of the 3 teams favored to win the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying the Vikings are equal to the 49ers and what they've done the last few years, but the Vikings are closer to a 49ers run organization than a Jets or the Browns for 20 years or the Lions. And so I would just, like, from a fan perspective, don't be afraid of drafting a quarterback in the first round just because it might be a whiff. If it's a whiff, okay, whatever. Just move off in a couple of years and see what happens. Before we get into a mock draft simulation here, Thor, do you have any other sort of big Vikings related thoughts or takes going into the draft?
Well, one of them to keep an eye on is, and I forget if I said it on these airways yet, but I know we talked about it privately, but I heard the Vikings had trade parameters worked out with an AFC team for a Dalvin Cook trade after June 1st. It'll be interesting to monitor this thing on draft weekend, because obviously the Vikings, if they had their druthers, they would prefer to put that thing off till after then, because you save, $4 or $5 extra million if you wait until after June 1st to trade Dalvin Cook. But on draft weekend, if they already know that that's going to happen, obviously running back moves up on the priority list. And then, but also, like, if another team swooped in and had an offer for Dalvin, or if that somehow got worked into one of these trades where you're moving up the board or down the board, however it would work. Again, like, would the Vikings then defer off of their agreement in principle with this AFC team to hold off on that? We'll have to see on that if the trade offer was good enough. But the running back position would be the other thing I would monitor there, because I think the Vikings are very much in play to take a running back, which you wouldn't think by just looking at their depth chart. But I think that there's already an idea there that we will not have Dalvin Cook on the roster next year.
By the way, I'm going to pop this up for the YouTube audience, and we can read it for the audio-only audience. But we have in front of us here, this is the Thor Nystrom 500 here. This is the Thor board.
I like it.
The top 500 players, literally from 1 to 500 in this draft. So I'll just rattle off who you have as the top 10 players. You've got 3 quarterbacks, 1, 2, and 3 on your overall big board. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson. And then you have Jalen Carter, Will Anderson Jr., Devin Witherspoon, Tyree Wilson, Joey Porter Jr., Peter Skoronski, Lucas Van Ness. We got to go down to 15 before we find Will Levis. Yeah. And then I think it's way further down, like in the 70s or 80s, where you have Hendon Hooker. There he is. He's 68. Hendon Hooker there. So
Jordan Love as the comp. Well, you really don't like Hendon Hooker, do you?
No, I really don't. But new Packers starting quarterback, Jordan Love.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. You got a Dalvin Cook comp here. Jameer Gibbs, the running back from Alabama, at 46. What's your philosophy on drafting a running back in the first round if Bijan Robinson is sitting there at some point?
Well, in the Vikings slot where they are, if he fell to 23 and you have that Dalvin Cook trade worked out, I would think about it. I wouldn't take, for me, I can't take a running back in the top half of the first round. Like, unless he's basically a receiver that also plays running back, and Bijan gives you a ton of utility in the receiving game too. But you would have to be just a next level type prospect for that, above, sure Hall of Fame type guy. I like Bijan a lot. I have him 18 on my board. And I try to slot this thing as though I'm going into the draft room making the decision with the numbers. So for me, if I had a bad running back need, I was sitting at 18, the 17 guys are above me. that's where I'd start to think about Bijan. But the Vikings have too many holes, I think, on other spots in the roster, even with the Delvin thing. I think to go there with Bijan, even at 23. But for me, like on day 2 or in the middle rounds, like early day 3, I think that's a really good fit for them because you already got Madison, you already got Chandler. You would just need a guy to work in there with them. And there's some very good complementary backs in this class. I think you're going to be able to get on a discount because they have one part of their skill set, but maybe not the other ones. But that would make them a very good fit as part of a committee with these other guys. Good compliment.
Judd, go ahead. If you have anything else before we get to the mock simulation, fire away.
I was just going to say, I think Thor as well on that position in particular. I think you have to judge it if you're going to draft one with where your team is right now, because we all know it's well documented that a running back has a shelf life, right? So I think Bijan would actually fit in with a team that feels like he's a final piece of a club that's going to pop.
Yeah.
I think if you're saying, yeah, we're going to be, as the Vikings always are for the most part, respectable, right? But we're building up to something, which is ultimately absolutely fine. I don't know that that's a great pick then. So because if he's going to be in 3 years or 4 years from now, if you're going to be good, a running back is such a wild card and unknown that I think I would prefer, if I was a GM, to take one if that was just like a final offensive piece that could play immediately and impact things. I think if you're going to take one and you're going to say, well, Bijan's going to really be good for us, and in 4 years it's going to be, I'd say that's a little bit dangerous. If I'm building for the future at all, I'm probably going to avoid that position in the first round. After that, it's fine, but just as far as first round picks.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
So Thor, you have your big board ready, because remember, when we do the PFF mocks, until it gets to our pick, we can't see players available, which makes it hard to trade up. We see the full list of players available when we're on the clock if we want to trade back. But boys, I think so. We've had different agendas over the last 3 months as we've done these mock simulations. Like today we're going to trade up, or today we're going to trade back. I think we should just enter this just like the Vikings are going to. Not really knowing what's going to happen. Let's literally just see who the number 1 pick is. Number 2, we can stop. Let's just have a discussion. Let's figure it out on the fly with Thor as our GM.
Let's do it.
You guys down with that?
Yes.
Okay. For the settings, I did tick randomness up from 1 to 2 here just to see. Let's make it a little funky. Let's make it a little bit random. So this is going to be really our final PFF mock simulation here on Purple Daily before the actual draft on Thursday. And this mock simulation is presented by our friends at Livia, Judd, who've been helping Purple Daily listeners lose a lot of weight and change their lives.
Yep. In fact, going into the draft on Thursday, there's going to be a lot of question marks about the top pick, as we just discussed. Well, if you want to lose weight, there's no question mark about your first overall pick. That is my friends from Livia Weight Control Centers, who are not only going to help you shed the pounds like they did me now a year plus ago, but also to maintain that weight loss, because it's a lifestyle change and it's an easy process. And I'm going to tell you right now, their nutritionists and dietitians are going to help you. And if you sign up right now, first 3 months for free. That's right. You talk about a good first round pick. First 3 months for free. So you're going to cruise into summer feeling good and looking great. And all those clothes that didn't fit are going to fit now. 855-GO LIVEA, Livia.com, LIVEA.com. Run the card up there and have the commissioner announce that you just joined the Livia team.
You can also join the Federated team or have them join your team in a partnership to help maximize the success of your business. Federated offers a guiding hand when the waters of running a business get choppy. Federated has over 100 years of experience in helping business owners. And they've also put a key emphasis on next generation business owners as well. So if you're taking over a family business, if you are maybe a younger business owner looking for guidance, Federated's here to help you. Federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. All right, boys, the Carolina Panthers are on the clock here with the number 1 pick. We're going to click Start Draft and see what happens. Bryce Young, number 1. I'm going to pause it here. Anybody want to fight to trade up to number 2?
Not me. I think it's going to be too cost prohibitive. So, would I be sitting dead red on in that building? It needs to be the quarterback, one of the quarterbacks falling down where the price point can come into our range.
So maybe what we do is let's run 3 more picks. Let's get through the first 4 picks, get to Seattle, and just see what the board looks like.
Agreed.
Okay.
Like it.
Okay. CJ Stroud, number 2. Jalen Carter, number 3. Will Levis, number 4. So we have 4 quarterbacks off the board. I'm sorry, 3 quarterbacks off the board in the first 4 picks.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the scenario where it becomes not all the way impractical, but pretty close to impractical for the Vikings to move up. Because, now the picks that you could trade up to, it's more within your price point. But obviously, there's only that one quarterback left there. And Anthony Richardson's the guy that, with each individual NFL team, I do know that the Raiders like him. But, like, the other teams, you're interested to know, like, do they view him as a scheme fit? And are they willing to sink that year into him? At least with Richardson, it's a different scenario than with Stroud. If you were the Vikings, you somehow traded up the board for him, you would want to keep Cousins around for a year. And then he would provide that bridge while you sort of build up Richardson and polish him off. Yeah. But I just don't know if the Vikings would blow up next year's draft as well to, trade up to 6 or whatever to try to get over the Raiders for him.
See, that's where I am wide open to trading up. If we think Anthony Richardson is the second coming of Dante Culpepper and he's going to stay healthy and maybe be better than Culpepper, I am very interested in that. But here's the problem. You're going to have to give up maybe, again, to get up into the top 5 here, and we'll run a couple more picks and see how the board plays out, but I'm going to give up at least one future first-round pick and maybe a future second or another future first, and I'm going to sit him behind Kirk Cousins, and I'm not going to get draft capital for Kirk Cousins. That seems like giving up a lot of draft capital in trade and in rolling with Kirk Cousins for one more year. I don't know if I love that idea, I guess.
That's why the Stroud scheme makes some sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because like if you're going to make that trade, I think you're going to give up the extra to get up to 2 or 3 for Stroud.
We just ran 2 more picks, by the way. Will Anderson Jr. and Devin Witherspoon off the board. Now the Raiders are on the clock at 7. Richardson is still there.
They do.
Yeah, they're going to take Richardson here. But yeah, they wouldn't trade this pick in real life. So they're not one of the options, I think, for the Vikings to make the trade up with.
Sure.
Okay, let's go roll a couple more picks off here. There's Anthony Richardson off the board, number 7. So, and I'll pause it after the top 10. So we've got Richardson 7, Christian Gonzalez 8, Tyree Wilson 9, Peter Skoronski 10. Your thoughts here so far, Thor, our general manager. Is there any reason why we should be looking to move up at any point in the next 13 picks?
Not now. No, that was a pretty chalky rendition of the mock. So this one would be like if it's not chaos, if it just goes more chalk or whatever. But yeah, the Vikings need to be kings of chaos if it goes the other way. But it's theoretically a play, of course, that it does go more chalk, right? Like we're all the smoke we're getting is that it could be a chaos-filled night, but who knows? That depends on a lot of different things. So in this scenario, yeah, you've changed tax. You're staying in your slot. You might even consider the trade down.
Yeah.
So guys, I don't think at 2 and 3, I don't think that both of those teams pick. So I do think that there might be a little bit of chaos introduced. I think at least one, if not both of those teams, trade out.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, it's certainly in play. Especially the Cardinals, again, we don't really know what the Texans are doing, but yeah, that's where it could get crazy. But yeah,
sort of
in
this motto.
This one, we go chalk.
So here's a few more picks coming off the board here. We've got, I won't read them all, but Jackson Smith and Jigba, 11 to the Titans. You got another cornerback here, Joey Porter Jr., 15 to the Jets. Zay Flowers to Washington at 16. And then Bijan Robinson goes to the Lions at 18, which puts, now we're kind of in Hendon Hooker watch territory with the Buccaneers at 19. So we'll see what they do.
The Buccaneers can have them.
They go Lucas Van Ness. All right.
Uh-oh.
Vikings are on the clock. So Lucas Van Ness and then Jordan Addison just went to the Chargers at pick 21.
That Addison pick would make a lot of sense. One of his former position coaches from college is now on the Chargers staff, and Addison was the only wide receiver in the consensus top 4 that the Chargers brought in for a visit. So that one would make all kinds of sense. And one other wide receiver tidbit for people out there, the Packers moved up those 2 slots in that Rodgers trade with the Jets up to 13. one of my buddies in the industry, Tony Pauline, very respected reporter, put out right after that the reason that the Packers wanted to move up those 2 slots, it was to improve their odds of getting Jackson Smith and Jigba. So it would be really funny if 2 days after they trade Aaron Rodgers, they finally take a wide receiver in the first round.
Yes.
one final gift out the door for Mr. Rodgers. But yeah, that's the smoke out there on that one.
Okay, so we're sitting here, pick 23, and we'll show you the players available. There are 3 teams that have called us about a trade, according to the PFF simulator.
Wait, Phil, first I want to see the available teams before we consider our options. We just have to see if anyone fell that we.
Yep.
Well,
Dalton
okay,
Kincaid is tumbling. Kalijah Cansey, Brian Branch, Deontay
interested
Banks.
in Branch for sure. Let's see the other.
Quentin Johnston.
That's your
would
guy.
be. Yeah, he would be in play for me certainly. Yeah, it would for me it would be down to those 2 guys. Okay, let's take a look at those trades.
So two of these are trying to move way up here. So like you could get future first round picks from the Browns or the Ravens. We're trying to move up from 74 and 86. Would you want to collect future first round picks to move? You would have, if you grabbed like the 86 pick, you literally would have no picks in the top 85.
Yeah.
Or the Eagles. The Eagles at 30 are looking to move up.
That's one that would interest me more potentially. And the Eagles do like to move up and down, so that wouldn't necessarily be a surprise. And this would probably be a range where the Vikings would really like to do that.
Interesting. So we could pick up, if we just move back 7, we could pick up, there's a 37% chance of this getting accepted if we ask for the 62. So we would get into the second round.
Trade. Yeah,
let's kick back the 211 and see. There's a 42. If we kick back the 158, so we would essentially be moving back 7 spots in the first round, but then swapping the 158 for the 62. It says there's a 54% chance of this being accepted.
Yeah.
You guys want to try it?
Yeah,
I think so.
All right, let's offer it up. Oh,
there you
the
go.
Eagles want to play ball.
Yep.
Let's go.
Howie Roseman. Let's do this.
All right, we're going to resume the draft here. So we'll just let these teams pick. Actually, I'm going to pause this real quick. Oh, there's Quentin Johnston. I was going to say, maybe we can trade back up and get Quentin Johnston, but now he just went off the board. So we'll just let this roll to the 30th pick.
We missed out on Branch by 1 slot. Okay,
more teams want to trade here, by the way. I'm just going to see who those teams are. Cardinals at 30. So this would be trading out of the first round with the Cardinals or the Titans. So keep that in mind if you don't see any value here.
Forbes would be interesting. He's the guy that would give Vikings fans the flashbacks to Dantzler, but he's a better prospect than Dantzler, mostly because he's way more athletic. But skinny outside corner from Mississippi State.
I know you have like 7 minutes left too, by the way, so we'll fly through this here. But would you?
John Michael Schmitz,
man, get a franchise center.
John Michael Schmitz might go in the first round. I hear the Giants like him and they need a center. Vikings obviously don't, but for me right here with these guys that I'm seeing, it would have to be Forbes. So it'd be Forbes or trade down.
Well, let's just for fun here. What if we traded out of the first round and we traded back 4 spots with the Cardinals?
Yeah, I'd be down.
What could we get? Would they give us the 66 for that? They will not. They would give us the 96. So we would have picks 34, 62, 87, 96. You'd just be loading up on extra picks in the second and third rounds.
I take it.
You do it? You do this trade?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I mean, just to kick down 4 spots.
There we go. All right, look at that. Oh, it's just wheeling and dealing out of the first round. If this happens on Thursday, the draft party at Park Tavern is going to riot.
I will riot.
Toxic.
I will riot with them.
It'll turn toxic.
All right, so we're back on the clock here. Emmanuel Forbes has already gone to the Chiefs, so we can just keep trading back.
Take a corner.
Okay, let's keep going down.
Cam Smith is still sitting
Cam
there.
Smith would very much interest me here.
Let's do it.
Let's take him.
Yeah, let's do Cam Smith.
All right, there's our first pick.
Yeah, so we plugged one spot in the starting lineup. He's gonna be a starting outside corner from day one.
I'm gonna turbo these now. So we're back on the clock at 62. We can just make our picks at this point. So cornerback, we got a cornerback. I'll keep track of the needs here. Tank Dell, wide receiverville here.
I love Tank Dell, but not for the Vikes, being the slot only guy. Charbonnet would interest me a lot here if we knew that Delvin was going to be gone.
I think he's gone.
Yeah, I think you can safely
I think
assume
it's
he's gone.
safe
He
Okay, well that one would interest me for sure. Just go down a little bit more. Let's see who else we got.
Cedric Tillman do anything for you?
I do like Cedric Tillman.
I would say wide receiver more than running back as your trusted scout / assistant, but
yeah. So Tillman on my board is I have him 52nd, and we're at 62 right now. I think he was the highest guy. Marvin Mims is the guy that I have right around him. But yeah,
I can show you the wide receiver board here if that helps. So Dell Tillman, Rashid, Marvin Mims is available.
So they have him lower on there though. So we're gonna get dinged on the grade if we take him.
Oh, you're trying to
The
game
public's
their
going to
rankings.
come after your ass.
Oh no, dude!
You're out as GM after this draft,
But
Sonny.
no, I mean maybe where's our next pick? Because maybe Mims
80
gonna fall to us with the next pick.
87. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Yeah,
That's too hard. Okay, I mean do you want to cater to the PFF grades and take Tillman, or do you
No,
want
you
to
gotta
go
do
on
what
my
you
board and go Mims?
do what you believe, man.
Do what you
Oh,
believe
man,
for.
we're gonna get slaughtered by those stupid PFF graders. But yeah, let's take Marvin Mims.
All right, we trust in Thor here.
Yeah. Thor
All right, so we've got
PFF.
I love Marvin Mims.
cornerback. All right, so now we're on the clock here with the 87th overall pick.
Okay.
We've got a cornerback and a receiver checked off our positions of need. We have the 87 and the 96 on the horizon.
Okay, no fits for us yet.
Ooh,
Took the
McKee?
receiver.
Tanner McKee. Is this
Tanner
Tanner
McKee's
McKee
sitting
time?
right there.
I mean, we
No.
haven't drafted a quarterback yet.
No, we're not taking a quarterback yet. Oh, Tajay Spears. Okay.
Come on, boss.
Tajay, he might be the guy for us here. I have him 65th on my board.
Let's
Obviously,
do it.
the 87 pick.
Nice.
I'll scroll down a little bit here for you, but I think you might have nailed the value.
Yeah, let's do Tajay.
Tajay Spears. We're picking up speed. Here we go.
He would be a great compliment for Madison and mix it in there with Chandler.
All right, so
Okay.
we've got a cornerback, wide receiver, running back. We're back on the clock at 96. I'm just kind of curious here. Just going to click on the
I was going
quarterbacks.
to say, are we at
Tanner
McKee?
Tanner McKee is still sitting
Dorian
there,
Thompson
Thor.
Robinson is still sitting there. What say you, Thor?
I want to see a couple of those other positions where we need immediate help first.
Doesn't like it.
I want to go interior defensive line and
Okay.
let's see. And what are our other? I guess linebacker.
Okay. I'll trigger that for you in the search here. There you go. Kobe Turner.
I like Dorian Williams a lot. He's super duper athletic and has crazy long arms, so his frame is deceiving, and he's one of the better guys in coverage in this class of linebacker. Go down just a little bit though and see
You
if they
spit
got
that
any other-
out. It's just so football-y. I do love it. Super long arms.
I
Now we're
think
getting these guys are all kind of might be there with the 119. At least some of these guys.
I think I would probably go with Dorian Williams right here.
Okay. So linebacker from Tulane, our general manager Thor. Unless Judd, you want to fight him? You want to fight him on Tanner McKee?
No, I'm about
Okay.
to quit. I'm about to resign my position and join the Lions because I'm being treated so shabbily.
Tanner McKee's still sitting there at the 119. We've emerged to the 119.
Yeah, this pick would be more in range for me as far as taking that developmental quarterback. After we take in, started to plug our other needs.
So let's do it. You guys want to do it? Bring in
Yeah.
Done. Let's do it.
Andrew Luck, Diet Andrew Luck here from Stanford. Okay. And then one more pick here, the 211. We're going all the way to the 211th pick, in the 6th round. And this will be our final pick in our final mock draft simulation, Thor.
Which position have we missed here? Interior defensive line? Have we taken one of those guys
we have
yet?
not taken an interior defensive
Okay,
lineman.
that's what I want to see.
Okay. I'll pull this up for you. There you go.
Okay.
Levi Bell.
Scroll down. I want to see if one of those war daddies we can get a nose tackle to play with.
War daddies.
War daddy.
Yeah, to play with Tonga.
Just a big man.
Is Broderick Martin in there from the Western Kentucky kid? Because I think Jarrett Clark. It looks like our boy's off the board.
Yeah.
The other big space eater in there is Broderick Martin. I don't know if he's been taken or not on this thing because he's going to go later. But he's like planet sized guy. Phil, type him into the search box and see if he's still there.
Hey, come on, Mackie.
Dang it.
Yeah, he's not
Okay.
there.
So all the nose tackle guys got taken.
Just gonna search here.
We got-
Brett Favre. No, he's not in there.
We got
Brett
edge
Favre.
rushers,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Oh, we could do an edge rusher. Mike Morris would be a fit for the Vikings in terms of he's a bigger
excuse
guy,
me?
less athletic.
Superstar. Yeah, he retired a while back.
Yeah,
actually.
There he is.
there
Oh my
you go.
God!
Oh, he's
this
one of the
town's
best
not
players
big enough
available.
for two of them.
He's a fit as a 3-4 defensive end in that sort of scheme. And maybe you could kick one of those guys in to help rotate with Tonga, but he would be a fit.
Let's do it. He's a fit, and they're going to give us a good grade on this because he's about 50 slots ahead of
All
where they
right.
have. So there we go. All right, let's see what the grade is on the final PFF mock draft
They're going to
simulation.
kill us for Mims, but they
C.
shouldn't.
That's okay. You're going with your gut, man.
You know what? B minus.
Okay, they're giving us overall an A minus.
Oh, an A
boys.
minus.
Okay.
An
See,
A
look at
minus.
There we
you. You all worried about what the media was going to say?
I knew it. Yeah.
Marvin
no,
Mims
I am
was
afraid.
the worst. It would have been an A if not for your dumb Marvin Mims pick here, Thor. Though look at the C plus.
Wouldn't go to the press
Ridiculous.
conference.
He
You said
definitely
Phil
would've given us an A
instead.
if I just
Too
taken
afraid to
Tony.
face the media.
No, you got to have conviction, Judd. You got to have conviction.
That's the way I tried to tell you. But I just quit. So
Amazing, guys. Well, there it is. Thor, we know you have to get going here. You have a busy day, and we're looking forward to seeing you for the second part of the first round of the draft. I will say, if the draft plays out this way, people aren't going to be thrilled with the Vikings trading out of the first round on Thursday night, but it will make the second night fun when they wind up taking multiple players. So
It's
there
going
you
to
have
be
it, man.
interesting either way. It's going to be a wild ride.
yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming on again, for doing this every Tuesday. If you want to follow Thor on Twitter, it's ThorKU, and you'll be able to find. So we're going to do another one of these on the main Purple Daily Show next Tuesday, just kind of recapping the draft. But then going forward next week and beyond, you'll find Thor and Tyler Fornes just breaking down with Declan young players on the Vikings, future draft ideas starting already next week. We want to see a 2024 mock draft from you guys next week. Okay, so get your homework
I'll get
ready.
on it. I'll get on it.
All right, that's a wrap here. Purple Daily, daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.